Thank you for listening. This is Gretchen Henderson, and I'll be speaking today about white space as silence, white noise as music. My focus will be a collaborative project with the book artist Ellen Sheffield entitled 16 Songs from Marvelous Things. First, some music to set the stage. What you hear is the beginning of John Cage's Sonatas and Interludes, composed for prepared piano around 1948, performed in this recording by Philippe Vendré in Frankfurt in 1994. James Pritchett writes of Cage's masterwork, "It is a big piece with a quiet voice, written for prepared piano, an instrument that undermines the grand statement, that operates entirely by muting, that is personal and intimate. The music for it must by necessity be music for a small space, music between two people." Cage quietly and patiently built his large piece out of short structures on the timeless foundation of Hindu aesthetics, where the focus could be on the subtle modulations of the voice. Ellen Sheffield's and my collaboration derives from Cage's Sonatas and Interludes and consists of the following components. Our 4 interludes are comprised of 24 sections from my book on Marvelous Things Heard, published by Green Lantern Press in 2011, with the 16 sonatas each consisting of 3 lines, of 14 beats plus 11 beats plus 14 beats. Built around recurring words from my book, specifically silence, voice, ear, and song. Ellen's visual composition around this text emerges in accordion structure, using vintage piano player rolls, paper proportioned like sheet music, envelopes made from medical illustrations of the ear, larynx, and heart, with red inner linings, graphics of normal and abnormal heartbeats, and audio waves, transfer techniques and stenciling, among other materials and processes. This project took place in 2013. It was performed collaboratively at Kenyon College in Gambier, Ohio, in Brandy Recital Hall of June earlier this year. The photograph of that performance shows how the Open Artist Book requires 7 music stands for full display over the course of the performance. If you notice the papers on the floor, each of the 24 sections that comprise the interludes excerpted from the published book were printed individually and tucked into separate envelopes, removed sequentially during the performance, read, then tossed one by one as a kind of offering. To give a bit of background of On Marvelous Things Heard, I'll read first from my preface, then move straight into reading the text used in Ellen's artist book. Please note, this recording is done in Santa Cruz, California on Sunday, September 8th, 2013. Since the weather is sunny and breezy, my window is open and may bring additional sounds of shivering oak leaves, bird song, neighbors passing beneath my apartment, children playing, cars parking, dogs barking, papers rustling, or the distant train whistle of Roaring Camp railroads headed into the Redwood Hills above. And so, my prelude. Prelude. Derived formally from Aristotle's minor work of the same title, my variation of On Marvelous Things Heard explores a range of literary appropriations of music in terms of translation and metamorphosis, part investigation, part inventory, and part invention in the musical sense, a composition in simple counterpoint. This essay indirectly essays the narrating subject, as she directly essays the subjects of literature, of music, and of silence. Acoustic spaces resonate to reach each listener's ears differently, dependent on physics, architecture, and physiology. I am particularly interested in the innuendos of voice, in the volitional space between voice and body, which helps to generate genre. In singing, there is a technique of visualizing pitches to imagine the purest sound, to engage physiology before a song is sung. Muscles constrict and relax. The abdomen expands, forcing air to circulate and wedge open the throat, then the mouth. Gabriel Garcia Lorca believed that through Duende, the voice surpasses the throat and starts at the soles of the feet. Wherever a singer's sound originates, her mouth is part of inlaid resonating cavities, within head, throat, and nasal passages, within body, supported by lungs and diaphragm, within architecture, an auditorium, or inhabited space. She is not apart from, but a part of. She is culpable and capable, even capricious, if programming invites improvisation within and outside of the song. By trying to inhabit the essay's interstitial spaces, literal, oral, and otherwise, I follow Umberto Eco's concept of the open work, as well as John Cage's motivation for musical composition, not self-expression, but self-alteration. The genre, more as a verb, to assay, to test, supports this metamorphic quest as the essay undergoes a kind of deformation and reformation. Moving beyond critical boundaries, the elusive voice here becomes permissive behind its theoretical veil, like the shape-shifting boundary between speech and song. That threshold invites me, and hopefully readers, to listen more closely to silences, to contemplate and respond in whatever form, even in white space, refuting, concurring, doodling, dreaming about our world natures and nuances, volitions and vulnerabilities, its marvels. 16 Songs from Marvelous Things, a collaboration with Ellen Sheffield, book artist. 1. And of silence, each listener's ears innuendos of voice, between voice and in singing there, before a song. The voice surpasses a singer's sound of the song, elusive voice here. 2. Speech and song silence is to contemplate silence as musical, a surrounding silence, bridge to silence, between silence and the song of sprechsung sung speech amid song snippets. 3. Hummed, sang, warbled, high, thrilling song, hear our song, siren song promises, this song is a boring song, confluence of singer in metaphysical song type of silence, disable other silences. 4. All voices and continues to sing, destroy the singer, stop the song, screaming in silence of the voice and sung performance of his song with his song, metamorphoses of sound. First interlude. 3. With regard to poetry, Stefan Mallarmé addressed white space in the preface of A Throw of the Dice, saying that verse demands white as a surrounding silence. 4. Epigraphs work similarly with white space. 10. Was it Laurie Anderson who said, writing about music is like dancing about architecture? 15. All art aspires to the condition of music, claimed Walter Pater. 48. And on being heard, Aristotle writes that all voices and sounds arise from bodies falling on bodies, or from air falling on bodies, being moved in the same way as bodies by contraction, expansion, and compression. 79. Every musical work is surrounded by a verbal cloud. 81. The spaces between translations and metamorphoses of sound, of silence, may be more telling than what stories are told. Within these variations, 90. Sound travels in waves. When an object like a stretched string vibrates, the surrounding air vibrates, as does the human eardrum. Sound works through a ripple effect. 5. Of silence may know the singer from the song restricts from singing. I am singing room for silence. Kind of silence tries to silence behind their songs for her voice, her to sing. 6. Troubadour songs, whose means speaking voice or speech song the voice partway speech, and song null about silence is the song. Singer, so too the narrator's song, ourselves with song traverse physical. 7. Song is the remembrance of songs sung. When I quoted song phrases, songs, or repeats, trust my ear. My ear becomes her song, is the communal song. Lend an ear, keep our ears. 8. Become all ears, of being ear-washed. 60 songs from to her singing voice, unknown, unnamed, from becoming ear-washed. Ear-washed, I must catch Eurydice's song, recognize Eurydice's voice. Second interlude. There are times, writes Umberto Eco in The Open Work, when a musician feels compelled to move out of the system. Debussy, for instance, moves out of the system because he senses that the tonal grammar forces him to say things he does not want to say. 97. I need a little language such as lovers use, words of one syllable, writes Virginia Woolf in The Waves. I need a howl, a cry. I need no words. In The Voyage Out, she writes, I want to write a novel about silence. 101. The story is about hearing and not hearing through music, to access something beyond music that has no words. Thematic transformation occurs both within and without, intermarrying content and form. Just as Toni Morrison's jazz is the song and the narrator is the singer, so too does Sonny's blues become the narrator's song, filled with the breath of his life, his own. 103. In The Healing Power of Sound, Dr. Mitchell L. Gaynor of Cornell's Medical School writes, we only need to spend a short time with an infant to recognize that we express ourselves with song long before we ever learn to speak. No matter the native language of their parents, infants the world over utter similar sounds, mem, mum, moo, me, as they grope their way toward speech. The ritualistic elements of song traverse physical and cultural boundaries. Gaynor goes on to cite examples ranging from ancient Greece, Rome, and Egypt to more contemporary illustrations among the Pueblo people of New Mexico and tribeswomen in New Guinea. He mentions studies that illustrate the importance of hearing for human development, reviewing cases showing that smaller babies have been born to mothers who live near airports, and infants react differently to varying heart rates and recognize their mothers' voices shortly after birth. Third interlude. 105. When I hear pieces by Anton von Webern, Pauline Oliveros, Charles Ives, and Arvo Pärt, in which melody disperses among instruments in pointillistic fashion, or synchronizes through vibrations, or intermixes quoted song phrases from hymns and patriotic songs, or repeats oral gestures, or fill in the blank with techniques of your favorite composer, confounder, I am made uncomfortable in the most wondrous way. I cannot trust my ear to tell me easily if it is music, but slowly my ear becomes accustomed, even in vogue, then after a while, negligent. Here lies the danger, indifference, at which point interruption and invention must recur. 113. And a report published by the National Resources Defense Council, quote, sounding the depths too, the rising toll of sonar, shipping and industrial ocean noise on marine life, end quote. 117. And that may be the crux of my argument, to prevent myself from becoming ear-washed. 118. To prevent myself from becoming ear-washed, I I must again and again shift my listening. After a few days unconscious, then coming back from some underworld, my mind and mouth did not speak what I wanted to say. I was aware of being unaware. Later, I wondered whether that awareness, that ability to recognize my own unawareness, suggested where the self resides, and I started to listen differently again. Nine. Silent music of the voice, such deep song sounds like bird song. Sorrow song, some melody in silence. Silent doesn't exist, true silence. Doesn't our silences? 10. The essential silence, the singer's voice like no voice. Their still ears only of silences bridged by song. Someone being silenced continues to sing, is the song. 11. The song is the singer, becomes the song, unnamed, tell the singer, from the song at the until song, after long song patterns, after the song is. 12. Beginning in silence, whose songs pushed up against silence, from folk songs, words sung by the narrator's voice, in this silence does our silence disable other silences, hear our song. Fourth interlude. 120. Can we find better ways to listen? To music? To one another's words? To the vibrations of our nerves and blood? 130. In Silence, John Cage describes going into a soundproof chamber and hearing his circulatory and nervous systems, realizing that true silence doesn't exist. 131. If true silence doesn't exist, what does that mean for my essay and for the thematic transformation of my, your, our silences? 137. Now. 157. I have nothing to say, and I am saying it. 158. John Cage explained that he composed music not for the purpose of self-expression, but for self-alteration. 159. It is for that reason, self-alteration, that I too compose, in my fumbling ways, words inspired by music. (160) This is an essay only by necessity. 13. And sung performance of his song, with his song metamorphoses of sound, stop the song, screaming in silence of the voice, all voices, and continues to sing, destroy the singer. 14. In metaphysical song, type of silence, disable other silences. This song is a boring song. Confluence of singer, hummed, sang, warbled, high thrilling song. Hear our song, siren song promises. 15. The song of sprechsong, sung speech among songs, snippets, a surrounding silence, bridge to silence, between silence and speech and song, silences, to contemplate silence as musical. 16. The voice surpasses a singer's sound of the song, elusive voice here, between voice and in singing, there before a song and of silence each listener's ears, innuendos of voice. That concludes 16 songs from Marvelous Things. A few more of my past and future music and text projects include an artist book exploring the theme of music begins where words end that I did back in 1997, a novel entitled The Galerie de Deformité, published by And Now Books in 2011, and deforming in the kind of tradition of an unfinished symphony, a novel entitled The House Enters the Street, published by Start Your Own Books in 2012 and composed along the lines of music modulation. And finally, I'm currently working on a libretto entitled Cassandra in the Temple, an opera in progress with the composer Elena Ruhr at MIT. Thank you for listening.